Hey everybody, David Safransky here with Financial Revelations podcast about all things, mostly finance, but politics too, because I think politics plays a humongous role in our finances, especially domestic politics. You know, when somebody crazy in Canada gets elected like they have right now, it doesn't really affect us that much because Canada is basically our redheaded stepbrother who we beat up on a regular basis. So we talk about everything. We're going to talk a little bit about money today. We're going to talk a little bit about politics, and we're going to answer a listener question from one of my high school friends, Fred, who lives in Roatan. Roatan. Everybody's moving to Roatan these days, it seems. You could see me on Twitter at SkiBucks1. You can call us at 800-344-2534 anytime you want. You can listen to... I've been on WCRF every morning this week because it's their spring fundraiser. And when I talk, people give money. That's just a fact. And so they want me on every day. I'll be on tomorrow at 7 o'clock. It's awfully early to be driving out to Brecksville, but I do it. I love these guys. And you can always submit questions to Corey at EPSF, all scrolling down below me. There is a workshop coming up if you'd like to see me in person, ask me questions. We've got a whole process going on for the questions. We've got people reserving. There's not unlimited spots. It's going to be Tuesday, April 16th, 6 p.m., Elyria, Ohio. It's I'm loosely titling it Managing Your Money in an Election Year. $15 a person. 100% of that $15 goes to the Amazon Fund. We go to the Amazon virtually every year and do a mission trip. We drill a freshwater well for people who live along the river, and they have no clean water to drink. So we provide clean water. We put missionaries in the village. They've asked for this. We're not looking to change their culture. We're looking to teach them about Jesus, and they want to know. And so we've taken dentists with us. If you'd like to go on the trip, you can reach out to me and we can talk about it. We're going in June. It might be a little late for this trip, but next trip, it's not too late for this trip if you really have a burning desire to go, and we'd like to see you go. So you can see what we do there on nativosusa.org, also scrolling beneath me. Excuse me. So let's start out with a little bit of economic data, and that is inflation numbers are setting a real trend. Another one came out this morning, and they're all hot. The trend is in the wrong direction. There's no doubt about that. We got really hot numbers in January, and sometimes, you get these one-offs. Just something happened in the data where just a little hotter than normal. And this one, and that was January. So now February, a little hotter than normal. March, a little hotter than normal. You see what's happening here, and it's looking like this is becoming... I have written a serious problem. Is it a serious problem? Serious problem. It's a problem. It's going in the wrong direction. Gold at an all-time high. That is a problem. Bitcoin also at an all-time high, but I don't know that that has to do with inflation as much as it has to do with Bitcoin ETFs that are now available. So there's a lot of demand, a lot of money moving into the space, and that creates a supply and demand issue. And the Bitcoin halving is coming up. I don't totally understand all that, but it does affect the price because there's not going to be as much Bitcoin available. And the way inflation works, it's cumulative, meaning that it builds on itself. It's like math class. So in 2022, it was 9%. In 2023, it was 5%. And in 2024 so far, it's 4% plus. So over the last 3.5 years that the Biden administration has been in, prices are up about 19%. They say, well, inflation's down, inflation's coming down. That's not true. That's a lie. Inflation is not coming down. It's growing. It's still going up, but it's going up at a slower pace. The Fed has this 2% number that was kind of pulled out of the air, not even by us. It was pulled out of the air in a Norwegian press conference in like 1988. They mentioned 2%. And the reason behind the Fed's goal of 2% or less is because that's kind of the grease that keeps the wheels of the economy moving. Take, for instance, you buy a house, and I'm just going to pick a number, okay? Don't get bogged down on the number. You buy a house for $100,000, and you live in that house for 20 years, and you have 0% inflation, maybe a little bit of growth in the house price, and you sell it for $110,000 20 years later. If you don't have a little bit more gain in your house, the housing market probably becomes stagnant. So what they want to do is have prices rise at a relatively even and low pace, and they've determined that it's somewhere around 2%. And if you're always like right at zero, there's a chance that you get deflation, and deflation's even worse than inflation because then everything grinds to a halt. That means you bought your $100,000 house and 20 years later it's worth 92. Well, you're not going to sell that house. You're just not. You lost money on it. So, but prices right now are up about 19% in the last 3.5 years, and your income is down 5% because incomes have appreciated at a slower pace than inflation, much slower. So you've actually lost 5% of your earning power just because your income hasn't kept up. Well, that's a 24% price increase for those keeping score at home. And all you need to do is go to the grocery store to realize this is real. You look at what, if I gave you the same grocery cart 4 years ago and gave you $100 to buy it, it would be significantly fuller than what it is today. You look at people's growth, and I do this because I kind of channel check everything. When we were in Chicago one time, my wife and kids were with me, and we were visiting it. I think my kid was going to college, and we were there. And there was a Lululemon there. And I hadn't really seen a lot of Lululemons. The store build-out hadn't happened yet. And I walk in, Lululemons, they're like $110 a pair of yoga pants. And I walk in, there's this lady, she's got 20 pairs of yoga pants she's buying. That's over $2,000 on yoga pants. I'm like, okay, this is something. We're not looking, nobody shop, there is no sale rack at Lululemon. And I do this when I go into stores. I look at what people are buying, not because I'm nosy. I just want to see what the economics look like. And when you go into a grocery store right now, look at people's carts. The economics are shrinking. Your cart is shrinking. This really upsets me. But there's an article in the Wall Street Journal today about how people are foregoing deodorant. Listen, if you come to my workshop, you better be wearing deodorant. I'm telling you right now, I'll kick you out. I'll return your money, but I'll kick you out if you stink. So prices are way up. They just are. And you know who's in trouble? Do you want to know who's in real trouble? Chair Powell! That's who's in trouble. He's in real trouble. A highly respected technician I follow recently said, highly respected. I only follow, well, there's a few people in Vermilion that I follow. They're not respected at all. But there's the people that I follow economically. I'm listening to this. It was a podcast. And they said, well, what do you think the next Fed move is? And he said, well, the next Fed move is up. They're raising rates. And nobody said a word. Like, what? We weren't prepared to answer that question or that statement. We don't know what to say. And this panel was dumbfounded. It reminded me a lot of, there's a Bill Maher episode back in 2015, and he says, who's going to be the next president? And one of the panelists, Ann Coulter, says, it's going to be Donald Trump. And everybody just laughed at her. Everybody, this is never going to happen. It's not going to happen. Well, it did happen. And it led me to believe that is absolutely possible that the next Fed move is up. I have thought since they skipped December rate hike that they missed a golden opportunity to put a nail in the coffin of inflation because the market wasn't expecting it, for one thing. And secondly, the data had just not moved enough in their direction to really justify a pause. They were hoping it did, but they were wrong. And I think Chair Powell, or should I say Chair Powell, I think he's in a box right now. If he raises rates, we're probably going into a recession. If he cuts rates, we're going to see a real reacceleration of inflation. And if you think it's high now, think back to the 1970s. You know who, Corey's going to put this picture up. I just put her on notice. The happiest person in the United States right now, he's right above my shoulder. Yes, it's Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter. He lived long enough to no longer be the worst president of our lifetimes. The Biden administration has taken that moniker away from him. They are so economically backwards. They're like economic cavemen and women. Whatever. They are. They don't know. Well, here's what they're doing. They're trying to buy votes. They're spending as much money as they can because they know that the economy isn't supporting it. You look at the jobs numbers. I'll tell you where the real weakness is. The jobs numbers, we have lost full-time employment over the last 3.5 years at a pretty good pace. We've picked up a lot of part-time employment, but full-time employment is down. That is not a good sign. Credit card debt at all-time highs, not a good sign. Defaults on credit cards are increasing again, not a good sign. Inflation picking up steam, not a good sign. It's just the data is trending. Now, of course, I want America. I want us to be successful. I just don't think that we're ever going to be able to be successful while we have the social democracy, the social democrats trying to import this social democracy from Europe here so that they kind of set themselves up as parliamentarians where they can always be in power. That's what's happening. You're seeing it with the border crisis. You know, the immigration crisis isn't about, oh, we need workers. No, it's about putting people in states where they could get more electoral votes and more Congress representation because the census counts legal and illegal people here. And when you come here and you cross the border illegally, you're a felon. If your first act of entering our country is breaking the law, we don't want you. The Democrats want you. We don't. Law-abiding people who are just, say, come here the right way. We want immigration. We need immigration. We want it the right way. That's not a big ask. So, what would I do investment-wise? I'd be cautious right now. I'm still investing. We're invested. We're buying bonds. The 10-year yield is up again today. It's at about 4.22, somewhere right around there, so 4.2% on a 10-year. The 1 year is a better buy at plus 5%, 5.2, 5.3. We're buying a lot of 6, 3, 9-month bonds right now, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I think the 10-year is going to go higher, and once the 10-year gets closer to 5, we're going to buy it. So that's what we're looking at. My question today is from Fred from Roatan. Hey, Fred. I hope you're getting a suntan. Fred and I played hockey together. We went to high school together. We were great friends. Fred went on to be a veteran. He was with the Air Force. Great guy, smart guy. Loved his parents. Lived behind it might have been Manaford. Lived on Manaford. We were friends all through high school. He was a pretty good hockey player too. Big kid, could hit. And Fred asked, when do you take Social Security? Should you take Social Security early? Should you take it when you and that's a great question because as we're living longer, I think people are working longer. At least they should be. I'm writing a book. It's coming out in October, Sin of Retirement. It's going to be sold through Amazon, and I'll talk about it on the radio and on the podcast. But people are living longer. But some people say, well, you know what? My family doesn't live long. I have a pretty short life expectancy, or they've dealt with illness where maybe they've had a cancer where the likelihood of it revisiting them is high. And so they might take Social Security early. So I think it's not as easy as a question, Fred, as should I take it early or not? I also look at the financial need. So if you're working and you're 62 and you don't need the money, I probably wouldn't take it because it's going to get taxed. You can only make so much money before the government starts taxing your Social Security. And I think taxing Social Security is wrong. It's basically like a punch in the retirement face. You earned it. It's your money. It's a tax you've already paid. It's the Social Security tax. And then they tax it again. And you know who did that? Joe Biden. Joe Biden, there isn't a Democrat alive that doesn't like another tax. And I think Ronald Reagan said something about a temporary government program that never ends. So, and I don't like means testing. I think it's wealthist. You know how we have all these terms now, like ageist and racist and all these wealthist. It's discrimination against wealthy people. I can't help it that I did a good job saving and building a business. Why should I get punished for that? Why should I have to be means tested? Say, well, you don't really need it. Well, maybe I don't really need it, but it's still my money. It's my money. I gave it to you to hold on to, and you did a horrible job investing it, and now you want to take it away from me. So I think what they should do for people, maybe just give them their money back. Just say, well, your tax amounted to this, we're giving you this back. And they could pay for Medicare if they want to, or, everybody gets Medicare at 65. I don't think you should means test that. Now, one of the things that I heard recently is that, in fact, I heard it this morning, we're going to have to do something about Medicare. And, we're going to have to take a long, hard look at it and ask the question, if you're 87, do you really need a hip replacement? I can't believe I'm hearing this. And this is from a Republican. And the answer is yes. Yes. If you're 87 and you need a hip replacement, you get it. We can do a lot of things. We could cut costs in a lot of ways. We could go back to the 2019 budget or the 2018 budget and cut money. We don't need to spend $7 trillion on the budget to buy votes, and that's what's happening. So Social Security, your life expectancy, financial need, taxation of benefit, and then the recapture time frame. You say, well, if I take it at 62 versus 65, I have 3 years of income. If I wait to 65 and I get this higher amount, how long before I recapture all of that money that I took in those first 3 years? Sometimes it's like 8 years. So if you're 65 when you take it, you're going to have to live to 73 to get all the money back. So I look at all those things before I decide whether I'm going to take Social Security or not. At 70, and, when you're at full retirement age and you don't take it, it grows by 8% a year. So it's kind of like having a great government bond, if there is such a thing. So April 16th, I want to see you guys there at 6 o'clock. I want to talk with you. Okay, listen, I'm going to have coffee, tea. I'll have some pastries and things like that. The $15 goes, and you can make other donations. I gave a workshop one time early on in my career. I didn't charge anything. Like 200 people signed up, 20 showed up. And then the next one, I said, well, I'm not going to do that again. So I made it $15. There's no inflation in my workshops, by the way. I made it $15. There was a huge snowstorm that day. You could barely get out of the driveway. Everybody showed up because of that $15. So it's $15. You got to pay in advance. I'll have some pastries and cookies. I'll get your sugar levels up. I'll stick around. Corey said she's going to be there all night if she has to. I think that's really commendable of Corey to do that. So I am David Safransky, a real American, not just a man, a just man, a patriot, a true red-blooded patriot, and the voice you can trust.